The Tennessee Titans fall 24-17 in the debut of the Brian Callahan era in Chicago. The Bears scored 24 points without an offensive touchdown. Will Levis struggled, to put it nicely. We're going to break down what happened in this game. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Oh, welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Broadway Sports Media in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. And Justin, not the start that the Titans wanted to get to this season. What did you see, just for big picture takeaways, and then we'll dive into this game.
Big picture takeaway. I mean, it's too early to go there, I think, but the topic's going to be Will Levis, right? And it should be. They had a 17-3 lead in this game, and
17-0.
17-0 before it was 17-3, and they pissed it away. And a lot of that had to do with the quarterback, right? Maybe not just the quarterback, but a lot of it was the quarterback, right? I mean, the strip sack, I thought that ball's got to come out just a little bit quicker. I mean, the pick six is one of the worst pick sixes you'll ever see, right? Like, it's up there with the worst pick six. And that's what lost the ball game. Let's call it what it is. It lost the ball game. So then obviously at the end they're trying to mount the comeback, another, interception to end it. I've got a take, not a take because it's too early, but I've got something I want to say. I don't know if I should say it, but it's obviously a very concerning first showing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Before we get too deep, I want to remind everyone listening, we appreciate you tuning into the audio podcast, but you can also check us out on YouTube at the Music City Audible Pod on YouTube. Go subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up, like if you're watching there, and turn on channel alerts so you get a notification every time we drop a new video. And leave us a comment below. What did you think of this game? What's the most concerning thing coming out of this game? And was there anything that you took away as a positive? We're going to hit some segments in this recap here. One of them is going to be I'll Drink to That, presented by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville. We'll get to that in a little bit. Not a whole lot to drink to in this game, but I do have a couple of things I'm going to hit on that. And then we're going to do a new segment that I teased a little bit on the preview show called Silver Linings. And this is going to be something we do every week that the Titans lose. We're going to find some silver linings, and that's what we're going to do to close off this pod. But before we get too deep there, we got to talk about what you just went through with Will Levis. I thought, well, here's some crazy big picture stats that just kind of sum up this game. The Bears had 148 yards of total offense. They were 2 for 13 on third down. They committed 7 penalties for 55 yards, and they had a turnover. Like I mentioned off the top, the Bears won this game scoring 24 points without an offensive touchdown. The miscues by the special teams unit and by, like you said, the quarterback really cost this team the game. And what did we talk about on the preview show? Brian Callahan said, take what the defense gives you and protect the football. Manage the game and protect the football. We said in most NFL games, the team that wins the turnover battle has a great chance of winning the game, but especially in the first few weeks of the season when you're just trying to figure out what you are as a team. And it really cost the Titans in this one. I want to talk about all three of those miscues. Like, that's where I want to start this recap. So let's go first to the blocked punt. Now, there was some special teams issues leading up to this blocked punt, just in the sense of like the Titans kick coverage and punt coverage not looking very sharp to start the game. I would almost prefer they take the strategy of just booting it through the end zone if they're going to give up yards like this on the returns, but you can live with those things, especially when the defense was playing as well as it did. But then the strip sack. So J.C. Latham gets beat around the edge. The Bears run a little stunt around the outside. They kind of fool Latham, who was sliding sort of inside, and then the outside rusher looped around, and Latham never picked him up. Like you said, the ball's got to come out a tick sooner for Levis there. But to me, that one's more on the offensive line not picking up this stunt than it is on Will Levis. And that set the Bears up for an easy field goal. The defense did their job. They got off the field. They forced the stop despite giving the Bears great field position there that Will Levis and the Titans did. But man, those 3 points came back to hurt them. Not as much, obviously, as the pick six, but that strip sack, the blocked punt, obviously, those 7 points, the difference in the game. So a lot to clean up here for the Titans. But these three crucial miscues, and we'll get to the pick six in a second, but I'll let you comment on the other two first.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the blocked punt because I want it to be noted. Maybe it's obvious because of the blocked punt, but the Titans were really bad on special teams in this game. They were really, really bad, right? Like you said, some of the coverage stuff. The Bears had a lot of yards in the return game. Consistently got chunks of yardage, if you will, returning kicks. So bad debut for Colt Anderson, first year special teams coordinator. And don't let I know the Titans recovered one on a kickoff, but that's got nothing to do with them being good on special teams. I mean, that was a freak play, right? The guy like muffs it and then kicks it down the field a little bit when he's trying to recover it. So don't let that take away from how bad the Titans were on special teams in this game. They were atrocious.
Yeah, they were absolutely atrocious. And then we mentioned the strip sacks. Let's get to the pick six. Will Levis under pressure, doesn't want to take a sack. I think it was second down. Is that right?
It was
second
third.
down.
I think it was third. No,
it was third.
You live to punt, right?
So, yeah, take the sack. Like, Will Levis did this at the end of the first half when it's like you're in field goal range with a half winding down. Don't turn the ball over in the red zone. He did a great job of taking a sack and then dirting a screen on the next play just to preserve the drive and allow the Titans to get points. He did not do that later in the game. I think maybe some frustration with the offense just not being able to move the ball very well since the first half. He's trying to just make a play happen here. Again, doesn't want to take that sack, but look, it's third down anyway. Like, what's the best possible outcome there, Will Levis? That the ball lands incomplete, that somebody makes a heroic catch on that and gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage? Like, that ball didn't even make it back to the line of scrimmage. And Tyreek Stevenson with a heads-up play was right there to pick that ball off and had just open field to run it back for a touchdown. So Will Levis has just got to make a better decision in that moment. You cannot throw the ball there. Just take the sack or get it. If you are not going to be able to get the ball cleanly out of bounds, which I think he was trying to get it out of bounds, but he was being taken down in the process. That you just can't. It's just a play that you cannot make at all, ever. You can't do it.
I think one of the most frustrating things about it, I mean, context, right? Titans are up 17-16 when that happens, right? That's a 43-yard interception return by Tyreek Stevenson. So you've got a 1-point lead. You're in and around midfield. You rounded off the stats of the Bears offense, right? You punt the ball. You're going to pin them deep, and you feel really good about what your defense has done to that point. I mean, to prevent them from scoring, or maybe they get a field goal and they go up 2, right? And it's still you're within fighting distance. So I think that's the more underrated, but yet frustrating aspects of that. It's the field position. It's what your defense has done. It's what their offense hasn't done all day, and that's move the ball on you and score points. That makes that decision so much worse. I mean, on the surface, you just watch the play and you're like, oh my God, it's terrible. But when you add that context to it, it's completely unthinkable.
Yeah, it is. So those were the big problems in this game. Now, Will Levis also missed Calvin Ridley for a touchdown early in the game that would have put the Titans up big. I think his arm may have gotten slightly hit on that throw, which is probably why it came out so low or underthrown, but it was also a little late. Like, he's got to make that read and throw it a little bit faster. We also saw him making a dedicated commitment to checking it down to these running backs, but they were not slipping tackles really at all. A lot of short passes that went for basically no yards. Will Levis, when throwing behind the line of scrimmage in this game, was 4 for 6 for 4 yards. So 4 completions on 6 attempts behind the line of scrimmage for 4 yards, and that pick 6 was one of those because, again, that ball did not make it back to the line of scrimmage. Levis throwing from 0 to 10 yards, really, really good in this game. This is those short, quick passes. I thought he was really efficient and did a nice job. Completed 12 passes out of 15 attempts there for about 60 yards. So that was a good. That was something that was working for this offense, was those quick passes under the middle of the field. And then beyond 10 yards, he only attempted 7 passes. He completed 3 out of those 7 for a pretty, those were big gains. And when you're throwing that far down the field to be 3 of 7 for 61 yards, that's pretty good. He also did throw an interception. That was the last offensive play of the game for the Titans. So hard to look at that in the context of the larger offense, because obviously they're running out of time. They're trying to make a big play. It's 4th and 10. You got to go do something. So he's just throwing it down the field. So you remove that one, and he's 3 of 6 for 61 yards, targeting, throwing the ball further than 10 yards down the field. You like to see that, but only 7 of his 32 attempts went for more than 10 yards down the field. So right away, we're seeing a pretty big philosophical change in how he's playing and how the offense is being run there with all those short passes.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm looking forward to the stats coming on after the game is what Will Levis looked like when he was blitzed in this game, because the eye test says not good, right? I think that was pretty obvious, especially when Dylan Radins left the game. They brought in Andrew Rupsich at right guard, and the Bills, they really started loading up that right side, and they sent the house. That's what it felt like on the eye test. And he did not look good when he was getting blitzed. Certainly did not look good under pressure. That's one of the things he's got to figure out this year. And in truth, it's a big caveat to whether or not he's going to be a franchise quarterback or not. So I saw this stat a couple of days ago, and it jumped out at me before today started. What his yards per attempt last season, Will Levis, when he was not blitzed last year, was 8.1. It was strong. When he was blitzed last year, it was 5.1. Okay. And I'll give you something significantly worse. Completion percentage, not blitzed last year, was 60.1, dropped to 53.6 when he was blitzed last season. I'm going to guess those trends continued in this one when those numbers come out on Monday or Tuesday. He did not look good under pressure. Obviously, the pick six, it goes without saying, that occurred under pressure. I'll just throw this out there because I'm not going to hide from it. We know what the big picture question is going into this year, right? Is Will Levis franchise quarterback? But let's talk about a little bit the question within the question, right? The stuff that you and I have talked about a lot. Can Brian Callahan change Will Levis in terms of avoiding the boneheaded mistakes, doing a better job protecting himself, taking what the defense gives him? He did not really do any of those things in this game. You talked about showing a bit of a better job with the check down. I mean, the pick six overwhelms that. Right? Like the decision on the pick six was so bad, it takes away any goodwill you earned from taking a check down or two. Right? It was such an overwhelmingly terrible mistake. And there was a couple times where we noticed that he failed to protect himself running the ball. The big one for me, I think it was still in the first half. It was a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. He runs for the first down. No reason to take a hit. Get down, right? You've got the first down, just slide. He takes quite the shot. And it was shades of last year. It's shades of who he is. So again, the failure to protect himself was sort of a theme throughout the offseason and training camp, in the preseason. I saw that on display quite a bit on Sunday. And then you also have the boneheaded mistakes. Can you coach some of that out of him? And the very early answer is no, right? Not yet. So that's the big picture stuff, and it's not good.
A little more context, though, just to put this all into perspective. Number one, it's week one. Week one is a notorious liar. Now, if the Titans had won this game, I would have said, screw the week one is a liar narrative. The Titans are winning the Super Bowl. But no, week one, hard to take a lot away from week one. There's no film on the opponent that you're playing against, and these guys clearly weren't on the same page. You saw in that 2-minute drill, Levis to Ridley had him with the back shoulder. Ridley didn't snap the route back in time, kept carrying the defender down the field. So that, there's a lot of miscommunication stuff that needs to get sorted out. We mentioned on the strip sack, it was a pretty big miscommunication between basically Lloyd Cushenberry to Peter Skronsky to J.C. Latham. All three of those guys, somebody messed up on that play. I think it was Latham. He is the rookie, but that's something that you're going to get that with rookie left tackles. That's going to get better as the season goes on. And most of all, this was against a very good Bears defense. Like last year, this Bears defense over the last 8 games of the season, number 1 defense in points allowed. They didn't play a bunch of good quarterbacks. In fact, they played a few very bad quarterbacks over that stretch, but they still played very well as a unit. And they continued that today. A lot of continuity on that Bears defense with Matt Eberflus calling the plays. Like that's the one element of this game that had continuity. And you saw that really come to fruition, especially in the second half. And the Titans got off to a slow start, and then they scored on 3 straight drives, and it looked like they figured something out on offense. And then it all fell apart again. So the Bears defense really locked in, and that's a tough opponent. They might be one of the toughest opponents the Titans are going to face on that side of the ball. Now, they do have a few matchups coming up against defenses that are probably going to be pretty good. The Jets were a very good defense last year and returned a lot of their starters. Obviously, the Hassan Reddick situation is up in the air, but we'll see if he's back for week 2. But it's not going to get much easier next week. But you come out of the gate with these tough defenses, these challenges, it prepares you for a long season. And that's sort of where I want to go when we get to silver linings, but we'll get there in a second. Anything else on the offense? I do want to say 1A, 1B running back situation did not play out at all. This was a 1 Tony Pollard distant to Tajay Spears. Pollard, 16 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Tajay Spears, 4 carries, 21 yards. Spears did add 4 catches, but for only 11 yards. Pollard, 3 catches for only 12 yards. Again, the short passing game, they just weren't making those guys miss like we have seen them do throughout their careers. So an interesting situation developing at running back here. It looks like Tony Pollard is going to be your lead guy with Tajay Spears more of the change of pace. And Will Levis, in fact, outrushed Tajay Spears, 4 carries for 36 yards. Spears, 4 carries for just 21 yards.
I thought Tony Pollard looked good. I mean, maybe I should have saved that for silver linings, if you will. But I thought Tony Pollard looked good. I thought he looked pretty explosive when he had room to run. Second half, they didn't really get much going in the run game at all. 1 or 2 positive plays from what I recall. But I thought in the first half it looked good, and they created some push up front, and he looked explosive, and he had some wiggle to him as well.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to our sponsored segment here, presented by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville. I'll drink to that. Cheers, Justin. Not a whole lot to drink to in this game from a Titans perspective. Maybe we're more drinking in sorrow right now. But I will say, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably noticed we haven't mentioned the defense at all. I will drink to this defense. And there's a bunch of guys I want to give shout outs to here as we talk about this. The defense held Caleb Williams in his debut to 14 of 29 passing for just 93 yards. That's 3.2 yards per attempt. Got him twice, 2 sacks for 29 yards, only a 55.7 passer rating for Caleb Williams. The defense was outstanding in this game. Again, they did not allow a touchdown. The Bears offense started with great field position a number of times, whether it was a kickoff return, a punt return, a strip sack recovery in field goal range. Like, they were with their backs against the wall a lot. And they came through, holding the Bears offense to field goals, holding them to multiple 3-and-outs. And again, when you just look at like the total yards, that's what's really impressive. 148 total yards, only 2.8 yards per play for this Bears offense. Only 64 total passing yards when you factor in the sack yardage, one of which was a massive loss. Keandre Coburn getting Caleb Williams in the backfield, and then Sebastian Joseph Day finishing him off to actually record the sack. So I want to go through a few guys individually, but I wanted to cover the overall defensive performance there with some stats. The only thing the defense didn't do was force a turnover. The special teams unit forced a turnover when Velas Jones dropped that kick return. But the only thing they didn't do was force a turnover in this game. But other than that, they looked, for a unit that hasn't even really played together at all, they looked outstanding.
Yeah, the defense was very good. I mean, Keandre Coburn was good in this game. That pressure was huge. Sebastian Joseph Day cleans it up. Harold Landry had a sack. That was great to see. Arden Key made a couple plays, had that, PBU. He almost picked off blowing up that screen. And of course, Tavondre Sweat, I think one we've been waiting to talk about, was really damn good in this game. I counted him blowing up at least 3 plays. It might have been 4. A couple of those, made highlight reels on Twitter and stuff. He was a load in the middle. They couldn't handle him. The centers, the guards. Coleman Shelton, the Bears starting center, had a really bad game in this one. Ernest Jones blew him up on a 3rd down and had that PBU. Limited snaps. He made an impact, held them to a field goal when it really mattered early. Overall, really, really good performance by the defense. I thought L'Jarius Sneed had a couple really positive plays, was covering well on some long developing plays. Overall, definitely a silver lining. Tip of the cap to Denard Wilson and the debut of his defense.
Even the penalty they threw on L'Jarius Sneed, which ended up, they didn't take that one because it was a 1st and 5 the other way. I can't remember what the other penalty was, like offsides or too many men on the field, or some random procedural penalty to the defense. But there was also like a holding down the field on L'Jarius Sneed where he pretty much tackled DJ Moore. But then on the replay,
yeah, it was 50-50.
It
looked like they were
I didn't think that was a penalty. Yeah, I didn't think it was a penalty. One thing L'Jarius Sneed did an outstanding job of doing was getting in and tackling both in run support and just on those quick passes to the outside. Like, he was blowing through blocks and dragging guys down in the backfield by their ankles. And that's something that, if you watch the L'Jarius Sneed video that I put out on Friday, something I noted is that he is a really sure tackler and a really good tackler. He was 6th in the NFL last year amongst all defensive players for tackles on run plays. So a really great run defender, and he showed up in the game there. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. got in the game here when Chido Awuzie needed a breather, or maybe he was dealing with some tightness in his calf, or who knows what, but Jarvis Brownlee Jr. gave him some good snaps there, fighting on the outside. Roger McCreary blowing up that DJ Moore screen on the last drive by the Bears to give the Titans offense another chance to go make something happen. Like, man, this defense with their backs against the wall. You mentioned a bunch of the other guys too. On the Harold Landry sack, Jeffrey Simmons was eating up a triple team that allowed Landry to loop inside and get home for that sack. And it was great coverage downfield because that sack was not very fast. It was a 4.5 second. Like, that's how long from snap to sack. So it wasn't like Landry beat his guy quickly. That required great coverage downfield to even make that play. So all in all, I will drink to just about every single player on the defense. Quandre Diggs missed a couple of plays that he probably should have made, got hurdled by DeAndre Swift. So some struggles there. Safety position. Amani Hooker played well too, though. And I didn't notice the inside linebackers giving up plays over the middle in the passing game or anything that would make me concerned for them. So granted, the caveat here is that this was against a rookie quarterback in his first NFL start with a very exotic scheme that definitely had his head spinning, and they were bringing pressure from everywhere. Amani Hooker was coming on plays. Linebackers were coming. You mentioned the Ernest Jones blowing up the center on that one play. So I will drink to this defense. And yeah, it wasn't exactly what I expected. I thought the offense was going to have to carry the defense and like outscore opponents and like do the heavy lifting while the defense found their footing, but it was the complete opposite in this game.
Yeah, I'll add that the Titans obviously brought a lot of pressure. It was the Denard Wilson defense we expected to see. But I did think when they rushed 4, they did a better job getting pressure than I thought they would, based on some of the pass rushing concerns that we have on this team. Like, I think the Landry sack, I think they might have only rushed 4 on that one, if I'm recalling correctly. So that was one thing. And tip of the cap as well. I don't know if you wanted to get into this, but I'll just kind of quickly get to it. It was the rookie class. I thought overall, a good debut for this rookie class. We've mentioned some of it, obviously. You talked about Tavondre Sweat blowing up multiple plays. You mentioned the Jarvis Brownlee plays. He had back-to-back really nice ones. He blew up the run play, and then he had good coverage down the field on the very next snap. Good overall day for this whole class. I thought, Jaquan Jackson had a lot of action in the return game. Probably can do a better job, not returning some of those, maybe a little bit giddy for this one. And even in Latham, I thought, the tape will probably be a little bit up and down when we get a chance to review it. It was by no means a disaster. He had a lot of really good reps. No. The Tony Pollard touchdown came up the left side. It was a good block on his collectively, but he had a good block on that run. A couple times in pass pro where I noticed he was stonewalling guys, and on some longer developing plays, he was able to sustain those blocks and pass protection. Overall, I think a really, really good day for this rookie class.
Yeah, J.C. Latham was definitely a little up and down, but I think there was a lot more up than down. The strip sack was a huge play because it's a turnover in negative territory. But aside from that, Tony Pollard running the ball behind left tackle, 3 carries, 47 yards, and the touchdown you mentioned. Running it up the left guard, 4 carries, 7 yards. Running it up right guard, 4 carries, 21 yards. Running it up right tackle, 5 carries, 7 yards. So a huge jump when you look at by the direction there when he's running off left tackle. So I think that is a big credit to J.C. Latham. He was moving dudes in the run game. He was getting out into space and lining up the blocks. Like, he did a really nice job on most plays. That one play where you turn the ball over in your own territory is bad, but you clean up that one. It was a miscommunication, though. It wasn't like he got beat by a rusher around the edge. Darrell Taylor did get him a couple times, but not for disastrous plays like that one. So we'll also drink to the rookie class. I'll drink to that. Sponsored by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. Their knowledgeable staff is proud to help you with large parties, themed events, or finding something unique for a special occasion. From birthday parties to milestone celebrations to everyday moments, Sinkers can help with the right drink for every occasion. If you head to the sinkersbeverages.com website or check the link in this podcast description, you can join the In Crowd. In Crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. Plus, Sinkers Beverages is on Uber Eats. All right, Justin, let's finish this thing up now with silver linings. And I kind of teased my first silver lining already, but the first silver lining is that it's week 1. It's a long season, and week 1 is a noted liar. So those are some silver linings I'm taking out of this game, is that this did not go the way you wanted it to go, but it really took some unsustainable play by the Bears to get to 24 points. I mean, a blocked punt, return for a touchdown, a pick 6, return for a touchdown. Obviously, that's return for a touchdown, and the strip sack in their own territory, giving them a field goal. That's 17 points right there. That obviously is not going to get, actually it was 18 points because they went for 2 on the pick 6. So that obviously is not something that you can expect to happen every week. Now, granted, Will Levis, the guy, clean up the mistakes, or things like that will happen every week. But that's a silver line I'm taking out of this, is that there was a lot of flukiness to the way the Bears got these points. And obviously it's not how you want Brian Callahan. It's not how he wants his tenure as the Titans head coach to start. But there's a lot of things you can look at in the film room to clean this up going into the matchup with the Jets next week.
Certainly. I know this is called silver linings, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little more worried than you are, right? Because I think, what happens when an offense plays well against them, right? Like it's, you lose this game playing as well as you did on defense. What happens if Aaron Rodgers has a good game next week, for example, right? Or Anthony Richardson looked very good today, has a good game. CJ Stroud looked outstanding. I mean,
CJ Stroud looked good. Anthony Richardson made some incredible, unbelievable plays.
250-yard plus throws. I mean,
the deep balls were unbelievable. The rushing touchdown on 4th and goal was an insane, just like effort. I'm scoring and you're not stopping me play. But the majority of the game, he was very up and down. Threw a horrible interception with his touch in the short passing game.
Not a Colts. I'm just saying. A little concerned about how things went overall. Silver lining for me, again, I think would be the defense, how well they played Denard Wilson's debut, specifically the rookie class, J.C. Latham, Tavondre Sweat looking like they belonged. I'll give you a silver lining. I didn't mention in the Tavondre Sweat. Looked like he played a lot of snaps. Didn't look like stamina, no issues there, any of that silliness that we talked about throughout the offseason. So that would be a silver lining for me. Silver linings, how well this defense played. Tavondre Sweat, being able to make big plays, stay in the game. Tony Pollard certainly was a silver lining in this one for me. And again, Tavondre Sweat being able to stay on the field.
I will give out one more silver lining, and we sort of teased it. You mentioned it, saving it earlier, Tony Pollard. But the running game in general, 26 carries for 140 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. The Titans averaged 3.0 yards per pass as a team. Will Levis averaged 4.0 yards per pass, 5.4 yards per run. You never want your average yards per run to be higher than your average yards per pass attempt. But the fact that the Titans were able to run for 5.4 yards per carry in a game where the passing offense was just not clicking really at all, that's a silver lining I'm taking away.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Don't have a lot to add. I think, they'll hopefully get in the film room, clean this up. Will Levis has a lot of cleaning up to do, a lot of it. You said not much worse. I think they got a better Jets defense coming to town next week. And an offense that's probably not going to look like the Bears one did, right? Certainly not with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, presumably Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So certainly a lot to clean up. They've got a good opponent coming to town, and 0-2 is a really tough spot to start in this league. So they got to get ready to go play next Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, that'll do it. Any final words or thoughts, Justin, or are you ready to just say, on to next week, flush this tape? It's week 1. We've seen disastrous week 1s happen many times and have absolutely no bearing on the rest of the season. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I will agree there are some concerning things about this game that you just have to hope that the Titans can figure them out quicker rather than not quicker, sooner rather than later. Maybe that's
sooner rather than later might fit.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, thanks if you're watching on YouTube. We really appreciate the support. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, like, and turn on channel alerts so you get a notification every time we drop a new video. And comment below, what was the most frustrating part about this game to you? What were your silver linings in this game? Anything that you're drinking to from this game? Let us know in the comments below. We really appreciate it. Thanks again to Sinkers Beverages for sponsoring the episode. And we will be back to preview Jets at Titans, with a special guest. This is not confirmed yet. I'm just going to say it, and if it doesn't happen, I apologize. Dan Hansis, noted big-time Jets fan, will hopefully be joining us to preview Jets at Titans sometime early next week. So
I'm shocked you dropped the name. I didn't think you'd give out the name, but hey, it's very special guest. Hopefully, a bit of a heed the call, Music City Audible crossover, if you will. Looking forward to previewing that one with Dan in a couple days.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully everything works out with the scheduling for that, or I'm going to look like an idiot. But until then, you all stay safe out there. And as sad as today was, as disappointing as this first game was, remember to always tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.